On this episode, we'll discuss how to bring clarity to your church staff and teams. Well, hey there, and welcome to another episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast, the show that is dedicated to inspiring leaders and empowering healthy churches. I'm Kendall Connor, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jess Moore. Jess, how are you today?
Good morning, Kendall. I am good. I have a new favorite thing. You know how we do our rapid fire questions at the end?
Yeah.
And we say, what's your favorite piece of technology?
Yes,
This
absolutely.
is my new favorite piece of technology.
Oh,
This is...
ooh, that must have been
Have
a
you guys
Christmas
seen
gift.
this?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
gotta
Yes.
have the Ember mug, right? Is that what
I'm
it's,
so
that's what it's
happy
called,
about
right?
it. Yep, it is. It is. Shameless little plug for
Shameless
Ember.
plug.
It's
This is
wonderful.
not an advertisement. Here, I'll prove it to you. I have the generic version of that. I think from
Oh,
Walmart or Target or something like that.
okay. I didn't even know that was an option. This was a gift from my sweet mother-in-law, so I got the real deal, but they're awesome.
I love that. All right. Well, how much coffee does that actually hold, Jess? I need to know because the one I have is kind of small. That's so much
Ooh.
that I stopped using it.
It's 14 ounces.
Okay,
That's
all right.
pretty decent. We'll say the only thing is the battery life is not extravagantly long, so I just keep it on my handy dandy
On the charger.
heating thing over here. Yeah.
All right. Well, now I'm
I
going to
dig
have
it.
to revisit this because, I've got
Yeah.
a huge coffee mug over here, but it's not as fancy as that. I love that. I hopefully, with it being a new year, you're getting extra caffeinated and are ready to jump into our conversation for today. Mainly because
Yes.
I know you're going to be I know you're passionate about this topic anyway. It's clarity.
Yes.
We get to talk about clarity today.
Yes.
Kind of a unique spin on it because we get to talk about how clarity relates to church staff and teams. So pretty excited about this episode.
Yeah. This is
And
gonna be so good.
we've got an incredible guest that's going to be walking us through this topic. Actually, a returning guest from very early in our podcast history. If you go back to some of our early episodes, she has been with us before, but this is the first time that you and I will get to interview her. So I'm super
Yeah.
excited for this. We get to welcome Nicole Lucas, who's going to be joining us today. And for all of our listeners at home, if you have not connected with her before, I want to tell you a little bit more about her. So she brings nearly 2 decades of experience as a creative leader and producer in the local church. She's super passionate about things like building healthy teams, developing emotionally intelligent leaders, and really creating these environments, these cultures where ministry can thrive. So I love that she's got a degree in leadership. She also has a certification in the 6 types of working genius. And she's known for things like her insight, her intentionality, the ability to bring out the best in others. And so you can tell this is going to be a great conversation. She has a book called...
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jess.
I was gonna say I'm ready to be BFFs, so I hope she is.
Well, she has a book that's called Leadership Frameworks. That's a practical guide to just all of the skills that are necessary for strong, effective teams. She serves as a creative arts pastor in a multi-site church in the Chicagoland area. She's the founder and CEO of the Creative Level, which is a leadership coaching and culture consulting company. And she also serves as an associate in the Slingshot Group's Worship and Creative Arts division. Pretty amazing bio. Jess, you say you're going to be BFFs already. I love that. Today we get to talk all about bringing clarity to that church staff and teams. Going to be a lot of fun. Before we jump in, I'm so anxious to jump in. I want to encourage all of our listeners, stop what you're doing right now. Hit that follow button. We want to make sure that you're subscribed wherever you're enjoying our show, whether that's over on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or YouTube, wherever it may be. We want to make sure that you stay in the loop so that we, as we release these conversations, that you can get all these valuable resources that we're putting out. We want to make sure that you don't miss it. So without further ado, let's talk to Jess's new BFF, Nicole Lucas. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Hey guys, it's so
Hi.
good to be with you today.
I'm really
looking
excited
forward
about
to being.
this.
I'm looking forward to starting my new friendship. It's amazing, best friendship. Yep.
That's so awesome.
We're doing it.
That's so awesome.
It's
For
done. I don't know what you're talking about.
all of
It's
our
done.
listeners at home, you may not know this, you may not realize this, but on the behind the scenes, kind of to peel back the curtain a little bit, before we record these podcasts, there's always that time right before, and we've had so many laughs already, mainly about trying to figure out. We wanted to make sure that Nicole goes by not only Nicole but also Nikki is in her bio, and so if we use those interchangeably today, is that going to be okay for you, Nicole?
Absolutely. Go for it. They're both my names,
That's
so.
that's right. And I feel like we got a little bit of that going on with Jessica too. So I feel like
Mhm.
I hope you feel right at home with that. Maybe that's where that BFF is coming from.
But not Ken. Not Ken for
No,
No,
Kendall.
Ken.
just nope.
Just please
Full Kendall.
stick to Kendall. I
Kendall.
think that's
Okay.
a must.
Got it.
I love this right out of the gate, having a lot of fun. I feel like Nicole, we read the public bio, and you've got so much that's packed into there, so much impressive things. I want to go a little bit step further. We always ask our guests, what's something that doesn't make the public bio, something that all your family and
Mm.
friends would know about you?
All right, well, I'm gonna give you 2 things 'cause I love to tell people this because you'll be surprised how many people come up and say, "Where did you find that combination at?" My favorite sweet treat is a honey
Mm.
cinnamon latte with,
Ooh.
like, a bowl of dark chocolate covered raspberries. I have no idea
Ooh.
how I stumbled across that amazing combination, but I'm glad that I did. Another thing that I'll tell
Yum.
you about me is I grew
Love
up in
that.
the '90s. So, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were, like, at their
Yes.
prime back then, okay?
Yeah, for
I'm still a
sure.
big fan to this day. I'm in my 40s, okay? Every day after school, I would come home and I would watch one of these movies. My favorite was called The Secret of the Ooze.
Yes.
Raphael was my favorite turtle. I actually have a little action figure of him back here in that corner over there.
That's
Um,
amazing.
one of my friends bought him for me when it was like a Christmas gift, and I was like, "This was amazing." I was like a kid, it just
So
lit up,
sweet.
So there's just a couple fun things that they don't usually make the public bio.
I
Those
feel
are
like
great.
Jess is going to connect with you on the latte, and I feel like I'm going to connect with you on the Ninja Turtle
See?
side of
On the
that, the side
turtles.
of
There you
things.
go.
Did you
Love it.
guys ever watch Legend of the Hidden Temple?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I would
this is
come
the
home to.
best.
That was on like right after school, like at
Yeah.
3:30, and we
Yeah.
would like rush home and click it on. And this is back in the day, the olden days where you didn't have on demand, and if you missed the
Mhm.
episode, y'all, you missed the episode. Can you imagine? So I'm sure most of our listeners are generally around. Maybe not. Maybe we've got some young folks, but anyway, hopefully, shout out to Legends of the Hidden Temple.
I hope that
Yeah.
these references do not go unnoticed, because
Yeah.
they're the best. Absolutely.
They are.
Go YouTube all of what we just
Yes,
talked about. Like
absolutely.
even in that one movie, The Secret of the Ooze, Vanilla Ice makes an appearance when he was in his prime. So that's how far back I'm going. Okay.
I've
Yeah.
got
I love it.
I've got 3 young boys, young sons. I've got to introduce them to that movie, because you're bringing back
Do
a
it.
flood of memories right now. So that is awesome.
Yep.
Well, Nicole, I know that you talk so much about clarity. You've got so much ministry experience, and I love the part of your story. Maybe you can even share on that a little bit, where you went from volunteer to the creative arts pastor at your church, which is a multi-campus church.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious, in all of that, when did you realize that clarity was so important to all of this?
Mm. So that's a big question. I think so early on when I was a volunteer, I realized that clarity was key when I had really good leaders who tried to make my on ramp to all of my learning experiences as accessible as possible. Like they wanted me to succeed. And so I learned that was essential when I was a volunteer.
Mhm.
And then, when I became an intern and then I came on
Yeah.
part-time staff, full-time staff, all this stuff, you start to see how, the inner workings of things behind the scenes, right? Like how
Yes.
much more vital communication is and being able
Yeah.
to articulate that well to your team. And so I actually realized that it was an issue through my frustrations. When I started
Mm.
to feel these frustrations start to kind of flare up in me. And I'm a pretty even keel person. I'm pretty chill. It takes a lot to flare up frustration in me. But a few of the things that would cause that like ick inside of me was
Yeah.
like, I'll share a couple of them, was like role confusion, right?
Mm.
So like who's supposed to do what and when and why? And I think that's common in ministry because you've got maybe a lot of or a little bit of everybody doing a little bit of
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
And when that happens, it's easy to get unclear about who truly owns it. Um, and then that kind of caused me to stumble upon my next frustration, which was responsibility without authority, right?
Mm.
So I started to experience and I think I've my team has been victim to this because of me as
Mhm.
well. This
Mhm.
idea of when the team, boots on the ground, they're responsible for the execution of things. When they feel like they don't have the trust of their leaders to make
Mm.
decisions or to be consulted on decisions,
Yeah.
when it directly impacts their workflow and such, it can be really disempowering. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
that was something that I realized, man, clarity is key there. And then communication, right? Like
Yes.
communicating clear expectations, casting vision. A lot of time, I think we're clear on things, but maybe we're missing the key components that our
Right.
team truly needs for success. So those are some of the things. I can probably go on, but like key frustrations, values of
Yeah.
mine that I think they were values of mine that I was like, oh, like why is this making me feel so icky right now?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's so good.
I'm sure
Hmm.
that all of our listeners who are, boots on the ground in ministry have never once experienced any of
No.
those things that I'm thinking about my own journey in ministry, and there's been so many times where these things pop up, and I don't think anyone is
Hmm.
is is trying to make these happen. It's not an intentional thing, but it is. You've
Right.
got so many moving pieces of ministry, and I think it makes clarity so important because of that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is just it's at the end of the day, it's getting clear on what and who and why and when and
Yeah.
how, before, during, after,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like all of the confusion, the rework, the miscommunication, all of it can be avoided, if we just take the time to figure out the things and the systems that people really need to truly thrive and do really good work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Speaking my language. I think
Mm,
too we overlook the fact that if that clarity is not fostered at the highest level of leadership, it just gets blurrier the further
Yeah.
down it goes.
absolutely.
And personal experience and even, professional life here and other places, it could be a small thing, but by the time it gets down to a broader team that is boots on the
Yeah.
ground, now we've got more mass confusion, right? It may not be
Yes.
one
Right.
person in a board meeting may say, I'm unsure about this, but that lack of clarity will trickle down and then have a much broader impact as it
Mhm.
moves down that ladder. So,
Yeah.
yeah, been there for sure.
Yeah. And I think too, like it can be avoided, right? And I do
Mm.
sometimes like whether it's the highest level leadership, but even like the team members who sense the
Mhm.
lack of clarity, they sense the confusion of how do I move forward, but
Yep.
maybe they don't feel like they can ask questions, for
Mm.
one reason
Mm.
or another, which is just
Yeah.
another sign that there could be, just a lack of clarity on like, do I even have permission to ask this question?
Mm.
Do I feel
Yeah.
comfortable asking this question? So there's a lot of nuances to it. 100%.
Mm.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, and I believe in our conversations that we've had before, Nicole, you at your church are currently managing, I think you said around 18
Mhm.
leaders who then go and they're leading teams of volunteers, and so I know you have I'm interested to hear your perspective on this because we talk about clarity, and I don't think anyone would say that's something that they don't want. Everyone wants to be clear. Everyone wants to have that in their leadership and in their
Yeah.
organization, but when it comes to teams and staffs, why is clarity such an important
Mhm.
issue for these teams and staffs?
Gosh, that's a great question. So let's see. There's a couple ways I can answer it. How do I want to start? Um, I feel like I know why it's so important is burnout and turnover.
Yep.
You think about
Yep.
that, burnout and turnover. Um, Teams cannot function in a healthy way without clarity,
Mm.
which means that the environments that we as leaders create, they have to be void of chaos as much as possible.
Yes.
I think in creative or event production, however you want to look at it, like that world,
Sure.
there's a phrase that like a lot of people like to use, controlled chaos,
Yeah.
right? And I get what people mean when they say it, but I don't like it. I don't like it because it, especially when you're using it in ministry, it creates this like negative posture towards what we're doing. And I think we should move away from it. Ministry shouldn't be chaotic. It also shouldn't feel controlled, right? Like,
Right.
Wow.
and again, I get what people mean by it, but I believe we should be using different words for why and approaching things with a different mindset. And a lot of times I think it comes back to, I want us to start using words like prayerful consideration and organization and being smart and being responsive and not making things feel like it's radical and reactive, right? So even when it comes to clarity, it's getting clear on how we actually communicate what
Yes.
we're doing and why we're doing it. And then to be prayerful and intentional about getting clear on how ministry should be approached by our teams. Like, do
Yeah.
they have the resources and the bandwidth to do the work well?
Yeah.
And a lot of times we do that by actually taking the time to assess how things are going, how our
Yeah.
team members are doing, before we just keep moving forward with the same stuff
Yes.
and before
Yep.
we actually pile more onto the plate, right?
Yep.
So when we don't do that, it's burnout and turnover.
And those are words, I
Yes.
mean, I feel like even in the past few episodes that we have, burnout and turnover, I mean, those are key themes that I feel like have come up because we are, around the beginning of the new year, and we just got through a busy season of Christmas. We've got Easter's going to be here so
Yeah.
soon, and you talk about those
Sunday's
hot.
always coming.
Sunday is always coming. It's there every 7 days, and
Yeah.
so I love to back up just a little bit. I love that you emphasize the language, the words that you're using, even as we approach this topic, because as we are serving in ministry, our pastor always says that words create worlds, and that the words that you use, the language that you use in every scenario, whether you're just walking around, where you're guiding your team in your huddles and those things like that, even when we're making lighthearted jokes, sometimes those words create the impression, or they're creating these atmospheres and cultures that can end up being more chaotic, can end, we're we're creating these atmospheres where chaos is the norm, rather than that clarity. And so I love that you said that it kind of starts with that.
Yeah, it really does.
I have so many thoughts on this. So, Kendall, I don't even know if you know this because I don't talk about it very often, but my degree is actually in organizational communication with my minor in marketing. So, the power of words, systems, processes, communication, interpersonal relationships, all of this is like, I'm so passionate about. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, Kendall kind of said it, but the way that we speak is so powerful, right? And collectively, everything that we do, from building our relationships to the way that we speak, shapes the culture of your church, specifically for this conversation.
Yeah.
And so I think I mean, my mind is going all over the place, but truly, I think it is so much more important than we realize. I hadn't really considered that, Nikki, like the organized chaos. I may or may not use that all the time. I think it's important to just pause and think, like, is that the culture that we want to build here? Or a part of the foundation of the culture? These taglines that we use over and over again, they do shape, the culture of our church. And Kendall, we've talked about this extensively where, some churches have their mission statement or their vision statement on their walls or somewhere else where, those words are powerful, but your actions and the words that you speak are just as, if not more powerful and more important. And I'd say you wouldn't get up on stage as a pastor or communicator and say, "Welcome to the organized chaos that is our church."
Right.
Or what did you call it?
Controlled chaos.
Controlled chaos.
Controlled
but
chaos.
Organized chaos
Yes.
works as well too. It's just that term chaos, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. Making that feel normal, it shouldn't feel normal.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
I don't like
and
chaos.
And I know that you work a lot on the creative side. You're organizing these production teams, and organizing these services and things like that. I feel like, speaking from my own experience, I have been a part of what I will say the tech booth, a part of ministry for as long as I can remember. And that side of ministry already can, if we're not careful, it leans a little negative. It can lean a little pessimistic. Just
Yep.
the types of personalities that are normally drawn to that side of behind the scenes, and I feel like a culture check in that tech booth is something that is regularly, just a healthy thing to have, just to make sure that
Yeah.
we are speaking in a healthy way in that environment. Have you ran into that at all, Nikki?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, and I think too that that's I know that my team they watch me.
Mm,
They are reading my tone, my posture, my words. They're constantly looking for cues
yeah.
from me to
Mhm.
point them in the right direction or to understand even where they stand with me, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
As their leader, as their pastor, even as their friend, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
And so your volunteers are also going to look at them in the same exact way.
Yeah.
So my words are creating a culture. They are setting
Yes.
an expectation. They are casting vision. Their words
Mhm.
are doing the same for either good or for bad. So everything
Right.
we say either helps or hinders the
Mm,
culture we're trying to create or the clarity we're trying
Mm.
to
yeah.
establish. 100%.
Well, I know that I've heard you talk about before that a lot of times people problems are
Mhm.
normally clarity problems, kind of in disguise. These people problems
Yep.
come back to clarity. When you see a team struggling, where do you start when it comes to diagnosing the misalignment that's happening there? Where do you
Mhm.
go? What questions are you asking first to try to make it right?
Yeah. Um, I recently I was talking about this recently with somebody because we were talking about performance problems, right?
Mm,
Too.
yeah.
And I said, before you diagnose something as a performance problem, you should really probably start diagnosing it as a clarity problem.
Wow.
Mm.
Instead of going into your team member and saying, hey, let me coach, let me correct, let me do this, start with yourself and say, was I the one that did
Mm,
I actually create the environment for them to succeed? Did I give them the clarity they
wow.
needed? Maybe it stems from you first, right?
Yeah.
So it's that's one thing. That's one thing I'll say. But the other thing, I think some of the questions I start with is I want to understand roles,
Mhm.
responsibilities, and reporting structures, right? So anytime I go into an organization, I want to know who they are, what they do, and why they do it,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Then I want to dig into communication, collaboration, and critique,
Mm,
right? Like, well, how does critique work? And that's really going to help me identify like the various aspects of systems and processes that are in place or a lack thereof. And
Mhm.
that's across the team with peers, it's up and down the leadership chain of communication. How do those three things interact? I want to understand values. You talked a little bit about values and mission statements, right?
Mhm.
But I want to know what's written and I want to know what's unwritten or
mm,
Yeah.
unspoken, right?
yeah.
Because a lot of times it may not be on the paper, on the wall, or on the website,
Mhm.
right? But
Mhm.
it's not explicitly named, but it's like these intrinsic behaviors that
Yeah.
someone in leadership or on the team they function, right? And that
Yeah.
determines the culture.
Yeah.
And then I like to just ask people. I like to ask them like, where, in your opinion, where do you believe frustration and misalignment pop up the most for you or in general, and why do you think that is? So
Yeah.
there's a lot of nuances and layers there, but to each one of those things. But at the core, it's understanding where is the culture doing well, where is it
Mhm.
unhealthy, or where is it moving towards unhealth, and I've worked for a long time on creating a staff and team culture assessment that helps me do just that. In addition to like going on site, observing
Right.
teams,
Yes.
watching how they communicate, having one-on-one interviews with people, like that those are some of the things that I hit when I'm consulting. And I do that with my own team on a regular basis.
That's really good, and I think the point that you brought up about first taking a step back, hitting the pause button, I think maybe that's
Mhm.
the critical element there is before, sometimes as we're working with people, as we're serving in leadership and leading people who, we may feel like are not, performing the way that they should be, or they're not doing, we've talked about this thing over and over. We want to go in and immediately start, accusing, where we have the
Yeah.
Yep.
accusatory tone. We want to say, this is something you didn't do, or you didn't do this, or
Mhm.
you failed in this way. I love that you said kind of to hit that pause button and just make sure that we have set them up for success. Because
Yeah.
I think about our volunteers at our own church, right? Like, I think of the frustrations that can pop up. Well, man, we've talked about this a million times. How are they not getting this? Have we as a leader, have I as a leader, have, for our church staff as a staff, have we communicated? Have we set them up for success? Have we done our part? I think that is a great posture to take, no matter what kind of leadership position you're in, right? No matter what area
Right.
you're serving in. But first, making sure that we've provided what is needed. And then sometimes maybe we have, but we need to shift the way that we're presenting that information, right?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
how you're leading, every single person is different. I mean, Nicole, I'm sure you've seen
Yes.
this in the churches that you've coached.
Yeah, absolutely. You and that comes down to intentionality, right? You have to take the time to get to know what people
Mhm.
need from you,
You're
right?
right.
So that's another thing that as leaders we have to get good at. A lot of times we want to do like the quick fire off communication, mass communication that everybody's going to get at the same time. But
Yeah.
however, there are different people on our teams that you have to adapt it to the way
Yes.
that they like to receive information. Everybody has a communication style,
Yes.
and it's not always yours, not always your
Right.
your chosen style. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, kind of on this same topic, I mean, for any of those leaders that are out there that feel like they're communicating the same things over and over, but their teams still feel confused, they still feel maybe
Yeah.
overwhelmed. What would you say is the difference between being busy communicating and
Mhm.
actually providing that clarity that those teams need?
So when I think of like busy communication, I'm thinking of like volume, right?
Mm,
Like it's a lot.
yeah.
To where providing clarity is about direction and it's actually about restraint. So communication will you can communicate a lot with people about what's happening, but that doesn't mean that you're it's not doesn't mean you're telling them what to do with it, right?
Yeah,
So
Mhm.
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
direction part. So and I think about that concept. There's another thing that's popping in my mind, like the signal versus noise
Yeah.
concept. Have you guys heard that? Like I think Steve Jobs made it popular. I don't know where it actually came from. But it's like this idea of like the signal is like defining the 3 to 5 critical things that
Mhm.
you need to move a mission or a project forward.
Yeah.
Like what does my team need? And the noise is everything else around it that
Mm,
distracts from the main thing. And so I think as leaders, we have to get good at figuring out exactly what our team needs, restricting all of the things that I could say and
yeah.
just
Right.
narrowing it down to all the things that I should say so that it
Mm.
eliminates the confusion for my team. If I do not do a good job at the initial kickoff, right? Or the handoff of that particular project, if I waste
Yeah.
all of the time communicating all of the shiny details about this new initiative or thing that we're doing, but never tell them how to move forward, I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
failed my team. So I think
Mm,
we have to be careful. We're not communicating a lot, you know, as like, an enormous amount of emails. How about scheduling meetings that like we really don't need? Sending Slack messages to like do check-ins and all that stuff. Um,
yeah.
like, what do you really need to do, and what do you need to just leave out?
Wow.
Get clear on
Yeah.
what you need to say.
I feel like this is some great info, that we can apply, right? No matter what kind of team that you're leading. So this is great stuff. Nicole, I'm just kind
So
of
good.
curious when it comes to building like the habits, some sustainable, strong habits that can
Mhm.
help with clarity, with serving. Do you have any recommendations for that?
Ooh. Um, yeah, I don't know necessarily if it's a habit, Kendall. Maybe it's like I think it's gotta be like, I don't know, for lack of a better word, like a mantra. I don't know. Like,
Okay, I'm here for it.
or like, just it's like our guiding thing, like a tagline, right?
Mhm.
Um, so we've all heard like clarity is kindness, right? Like we know that saying.
Yeah,
Um, but I actually like to flip it a little bit or add to it and say clarity is consideration, clarity is
Mm.
action.
mm,
Um, clarity is the one thing that it's one of the most important things we do as leaders because it gives our teams the confidence to actually take action. right?
Mm.
So when we don't do that, we have to remember 9 times out of 10, our teams are going to fill in the gaps. They're
Yes.
going
Yep.
to assume that they know what direction they need to head in, and they're going to start leading in different directions. And so clarity is not about control. It's not about
Right.
micromanagement. It's not about prescribing to your team how to do something. It's about
Right.
honoring your people enough to tell them what success looks like. And
Oof.
that means the world to a team who comes when it comes to consistency and commitment. Like people don't want to come to work, or come in and step and serve at a church where there's inconsistency and confusion every
Yes.
single day. That's
Right.
exhausting. It's unnecessary. It
Right.
can and it
Mm.
should be avoided if we take the time to figure out, prayerfully consider, what do people need, and to be
Mm.
intentional about creating the habits,
It's
and
great
just
That's
wisdom.
carrying out
so
those
good.
phrases, so.
Yeah.
Right. No, I
Man,
love
that's
that.
good.
They will fill in the gaps, right? That
Mhm.
is so true.
Yeah,
And
because they have to get the work done, right? They gotta
that's
do
right.
Right.
something.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
I love that you said it's not micromanagement. Like
Mm.
Yeah.
that, boy, does that need some clear delineation. I think
Mhm.
this is what clarity is not. This is what clarity is. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's, to your point, what does success look like?
Mhm.
Here are some maybe guardrails, but it's not
Yeah.
micromanagement, because
That's
that
right.
just kills creativity. And hopefully you've got wonderful creative people under you. So, man, that's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times you don't have to tell them how to do the work. They're gonna
Right.
figure out how to do it, but you just need to tell them the target to hit. You can't keep
Wow.
that. You can't write things in invisible ink. You can't
Yes.
give them
Yeah.
invisible targets to hit. So,
Right. It's good.
Well, and I feel like I've seen so many times, for the volunteer, for the staff member who's looking to the leader, where the staff member or the volunteer, they filled in the gaps themselves, and they're working hard, right? They're bringing their best, and
Mm,
they, when there is misalignment, there's frustration from the leader because they're thinking, man, you haven't done what I've asked you to do. We're trying to go this direction, but then on the other side of the staff member, of the team member, of the volunteer, they're thinking, what? Are you not seeing all of the hard work, all of the great things that
right?
we've done? And you just have two individuals, and ultimately it comes down to they just were not synced. They just were not
right.
looking
Yes.
at,
Right.
going in the same direction. And so that
Mhm.
clarity, it really just helps so much because, again, you don't want wasted work, right? From these creatives,
Right.
from these team members, from these volunteers. And then you also, for the leaders, you don't want to spend like it's wasted opportunity, wasted time
Mm,
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
accomplishing the larger goals of the organization. So you
Yeah.
got some valuable wisdom here, Nicole.
Yeah. Thanks.
So I'm just kind of curious. We talked about the creatives and the production and the tech teams that
Mhm.
you lead. You're leading them across multiple campuses, which I know brings its own unique challenges. But also, this is a very unique group of people. I'm just kind of curious. What are these teams in particular? Why did they require a high level of clarity? When things aren't going right in these areas, I feel like everyone notices, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, like, that's a great point. They are the most visible, right?
Mm,
They're actually the most behind the scene, unless you're on the platform and you're part of the
right.
worship team.
All right.
We'll say production technical artists. They're behind the scenes, so they're actually
Yes.
the least seen, but the thing that they do is actually the most visible, and
Right.
it's the most critiqued
mm,
by
Yes.
not only by
mm.
leadership, but also by the congregation.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Ouch. Yeah.
so yeah, so I think if if I feel like this answer has a lot of layers, so you might have to bear with me. I gotta kinda go down a little rabbit trail here.
We're here for it.
Um, I think the first reason creatives in production, technical artists, whatever you wanna call 'em, I love to refer to them as all 3. Maybe that's why this where the Nicole and Nikki comes from. I think the reason why they need clarity is because they work really hard, and I'm not saying that no other
Mm,
ministry team works really hard, but what I mean by that, this is where the trail comes from, is they're often the first people in the building. They're
Yeah.
often
mm,
the last people to leave the building. They're not just the one creating the slides or editing the videos or programming lights or dialing in the mix,
Yeah.
maintaining the equipment, handling the technical issues across multiple campuses or multiple rooms, alongside of handling the tech for every event in the building, right?
Yeah.
Or getting the
mm,
phone call from someone who says, I can't get the the USB-C cable to plug into my computer the right way, right? They're also recruiting and training and staffing anywhere
Yes.
from, I don't know, like 10 to 30 plus volunteer roles every single weekend.
Yeah.
And then they're trying to go home and figure out how to handle life outside of the
Right.
church building,
Yes.
right? Or what does life look like outside the church building? And a lot of times, they are the ones who are taking in the world around them and responding to the world around them, which means they're probably giving a lot, but they don't feel like they're getting a lot in return because they're saying yes, even though they know they don't have the capacity to keep saying yes. But they're doing it because they care, and it's for the church. And it's only going to
Yes.
be one more time because we're just in a busy season right now. And next season's going to be a little easier. But they know that the season is just kind of become a lifestyle
Yeah.
because every season has a beginning and an ending.
Yeah.
But when you're a church creative or a production artist, you kind of get in this motion where it's like, well, this is just the way it always will be. And so I can keep going, guys, but like the point that I'm trying to make is clarity matters for these teams because their responsibilities are vast and they
Right.
carry a lot of weight. And like you said, like we said earlier, they're facilitating the largest gathering for the church
Yeah.
every single weekend.
Yeah.
They're planning and they're producing environments that reflect what event companies probably spend months, maybe even a year
Right.
working towards.
Wow.
And they're doing that. They're spending maybe a week. I know some churches who spend a few days
Yeah.
gearing up for that every single weekend. So
Wow.
clarity and structure, man, they're so needed for these teams in order to keep them healthy and doing ministry for a long time. If not, they're going to go leave and be a part of an integration company because that's what a lot of that's what happens to a lot of them.
Yeah. You've shared so much there, and I wanna unpack it a little bit. I love, number one,
Yeah.
that you advocate for those volunteers and those staff members on those teams because I feel like a lot of times they get forgotten. They, we just assume everything is okay, and so I love your heart, number one, for what is it, FILO, right? First in, last out,
You
for all
got it.
those folks that are showing up and
Yeah.
showing up earlier than everyone else and leaving last out of the building. So those are my people. I love that group of people, the creatives and the technical artists, and so my heart goes out to them as well. I feel like the word that just kept ringing in my head the entire time you were talking that is just guardrails. I feel like for leaders in these churches, no matter the size of your church, we've got to
Yeah.
remember that we have to set up these guardrails so that we don't overwork, so that we don't
Yes.
create these environments where it does become unhealthy, like you said. And a lot of times they will keep saying yes. I think of the
Yeah.
personality and some of the individuals, some of the most hardworking individuals that I've seen in the church, right, have been serving in these particular areas of ministry, and they probably will, yeah, even if it's going to take away time from their family, even if it's going to take
Yep.
away time from, whatever they have going on outside the walls of the church. They're going to say yes because they love the Lord and they love the church. And so, as a leader, we do have to take that time to not only be clear, as you said, but also to say, I know that I have this great idea on Saturday night at 7 o'clock, but I'm just going to have to wait because it's not healthy of
Right.
me to request
right.
that at this moment. And, we
Yeah.
want to be good stewards of, as leaders, of what God is, the direction that he's sending us. But I think we also have to remember that we're stewards of those people that he put us
Yes.
in charge of. Right. And there is a balance, I'm sure, but it is a good reminder that we have to look out for those individuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There, and you're right. There is definitely a balance.
Yeah, it's tough. And listen, I've been that one that's putting in the last minute request on Sunday morning, 5 minutes before service. So I know that world too. I know, but now kind of leading some of those individuals, yeah, it does put a responsibility out there. So I get it. I feel like you've shared a lot of good wisdom. I know that clarity is something that it's every area of the church, but I'm just kind of curious, would you walk us through how that shows up? How does clarity show up in something practical like planning a worship service or a weekend experience?
Oh, I love this question. Okay, so process, actually, creative process. I created a process for my team. So at Christ Community, where I'm serving as a creative arts pastor, they did have a good process for a lot of years, and I came into that process. But as things changed and we evolved and developed, I had to rework everything. And so I've got a 6-phase process that I run with my team. We actually start it 13 weeks out, 90 days out from the start of a sermon series, but it can work for as far out as you actually are. Okay, but if you're like 2 days out, you need to get out further. Okay, so um. For the first, I would say the first thing, and I'll try to get this out quick. There's 6, I think, fundamental things to a process. Inquiry, okay, is the first step. I have a list of questions that I give our lead teaching
Yeah.
pastor. Um, and he uses them to give as much information as he can about a sermon series and each series in particular. And we use that information in our brainstorming meetings, in our planning processes. From that information, I create this series brief, which is like a product brief, right? In the marketing world, like it's all the
Yes.
information and detail that we can get. It's shared with a smaller team of people that handles phase 2, which is digest. Okay. So that smaller team of people gather around a table and say, this is what I got out of this, right? We
Yeah.
talk about initial series art design, and then our graphic designer goes and makes initial concepts, right? Third is we brainstorm. I've got like 18 people on my team, but I bring even more people into this brainstorm meeting, right? And they all know that they serve a particular function. They've got this down. But we gather to brainstorm all of the elements for the entire series, but also each weekend. We look at the rough series art concepts. We talk
Yeah.
about initial thoughts of music, resources, ministry promos, videos, announcements, environments, how we can help the congregation take next steps. We dig into all of it. And then that prepares us for phase 4. Prepare. We literally go and we write. I guess you could say, like prompts or scripts or
Yeah.
whatever we want to present, whatever they want to present to me and to the lead teaching pastor. Song suggestions, video proposals. Graphic designer goes and finalizes the concepts, all of that stuff. And then we plan. 5th phase is plan. We get with the lead teaching pastor, present all of it. We walk out with a completely planned sermon series.
Amazing.
And then we start to work through that. 6 phases implementation. And
Amazing.
everybody goes away and does the work. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you want something that is going to help, it's going to fit into the workflow. But sometimes like people need to know how to do that, right? So like I think the one thing I could say if I could say that is don't get overwhelmed with what I just said. Start with what do you currently do? Who does what? When and how is information communicated? When is the work done? And when are the results delivered? What and where are the stress points? And what could actually help in those stressful areas? That's how you start building a process that's going to set up a team for success.
Yeah, that's an incredible framework. And yeah, I'm the same way. You may not be able to implement all of those things right away, right? But man, that is what a goal. I love that framework.
Yeah.
I love that process. That's
Yeah, I'm
that's
going to go
we're
back
still-
and watch
we're
this
still
episode
working.
and take notes because I feel like my brain is just absorbing this like a sponge.
We're still working. We're always working on our processes. Processes are not evergreen, right? Every 6 months, I'm looking at them and I'm saying what's still working and what's
Wow.
creating bottlenecks and what do I need to do differently for the team? And it's just got to happen, Good,
Incredible.
healthy processes.
I love that. Yeah, not being afraid to go back and make some tweaks. That's good wisdom.
Yeah.
I'm curious, as you're leading leaders who are going and they're leading teams and they're leading volunteers. When you're communicating vision and things, even simple changes for a Sunday, how do you make sure that by the time it gets to the lowest level volunteer in that situation, how do you ensure that the message stays the same, that the clarity comes through every level of the organization?
Okay, so I stole a concept from Patrick Lencioni. He wrote a blog post about this, and he basically tells leaders you have to be the chief reminding officer. And
good.
so I love this phrase. I use it often with my team. So it's the one way that I keep the vision clear and I keep expectations fresh for my team is I remind them often. Meaning I talk about standards, right? Like they have become a part of my vocabulary. That is how culture works. It's not, set it and forget it. And so I often reinforce things with my language, with my actions. Jess mentioned that, talked about that a little bit before. But I'm also not only being the chief reminding officer for my team, I am encouraging them
Yes.
to be that for their volunteers as well.
Mm.
And so I
Yeah.
have to model it. I have to intentionally bring things into my language and exhibit things through my behavior that they
Yes.
then get the opportunity to catch on to. But I also, you say like, oh, things are caught, not taught.
Sure.
Yes, but also teach them. Like,
Yes.
model it, but then say, you should do this,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, try
Yeah.
this. Try
Right.
this,
Yes.
Yes.
if this is helpful, if this has been helpful for you, think about how helpful it can be for your team, right?
Right.
So,
What I love about that is
Yeah.
you're helping them grow into better leaders as you're showing them that,
Mm.
right?
that's the goal always.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always.
It's
So
amazing.
practically speaking, I'm gonna
Yeah.
double click. I hate that phrase, but I'm gonna double click into this question a little bit.
Yeah.
So maybe getting granular about this,
Mhm.
like in a very practical way. Like we are having to pivot, right? Something is not
Mhm.
working, or we're being forced to change our process. Maybe this is like day before. How do you make sure that that's communicated clearly all the way down to your team? We're out of time. We don't have any more group meetings.
Mhm.
You are fully dependent on top to bottom communication to make
Yeah.
sure that everybody understands. How do you
Yeah.
do that well?
Let me do it. Let's see, in the context. Let me do it in the context of a service, if I can, right? Like a
Mhm.
weekend service, because I've had to do this before. Let's say Easter, right?
Mhm.
I'll send out a text in the group text, right? Meet me in the booth, like in 5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
gather everybody up. That's just the staff. It's not the volunteers, but it's just
Mm.
the staff. I'll say, and I'll say, okay, this is what's happening. This is
Yeah.
why it's happening. This is when it needs to happen. This is who's
Yeah.
going to
Mm.
do it. Right.
Good. Yeah.
I always have to hit those things.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
then I'll try to do it as quickly as I can, but again, I got to get clear on it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is what's happening. This is why it's happening. This is when it's happening. This is who's doing it.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, go and report that to your teams. Okay. And I'll ask them, do you understand? Do you have any questions? Right? Anything that I'm not clear on. I always ask that question before I walk away.
Mm.
And
Yes.
thankfully, they've gotten comfortable going, no, repeat that to me again. I don't understand that.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
But they also know it's crunch time, so we don't have a lot of time, right? Sometimes when
Yeah.
we're in the middle of service and doing something. So it's on me, right?
Yeah.
And then I trust them to go and communicate
Yeah.
that to their teams. And as long
good.
as I have done those 4 things,
Yeah.
it's usually worked out well, right?
Yeah.
And then there are times, Jess, I will say, where if there is something that it's a major pivot and I don't have time to communicate to the team what's happening,
Mm.
they have learned that might be the one time that I step
Right.
in and I
Yeah.
do a mass communication across the board to
Yeah.
everybody,
Yeah.
because I don't have the time to pull everybody together.
Sure.
So it really
Right.
just
Sure.
depends. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I was looking
Hopefully
for.
that,
Thank you.
Yeah.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Hopefully that
super
answered.
helpful.
Great.
Super
Mm-hmm.
helpful.
Yeah.
Well, Nicole, one of the things that we always like to ask all of our guests when they come on the show, we talk a lot about healthy leaders, healthy churches, and I'm just kind of curious to hear from you, from your unique perspective. What would you say is one essential component of a healthy church?
Mm. Other than clarity?
I think clarity seems like a great
Clarity
answer
is
for this
perfect. It's a
episode.
perfect answer,
Yes.
right? Like, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, if I had to give another one, I would say considerate and consistent communication. I don't know if you guys keep
Mm.
realizing this word considerate keeps coming up for me.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
one of my values.
Mm.
It is my experience that communication is our currency, right? Like I said it
Yeah.
earlier, it can either help or it can hinder every
Yeah.
aspect of the work we
Mm.
do, every relationship that we build. It can either, build trust or erode it. And so communication touches everything. So if you want something other than clarity, it would be clear and consistent communication and also
Mm.
transparent communication.
Yeah.
Tell people
Yeah.
why you arrive at the decisions that you arrive at. Don't
That's
hold
Yes.
so
it close to
good.
your vest. To teach
Yeah.
people, develop
Yes.
leaders. Yeah.
Amazing
Perfect.
answer.
I
Really
didn't give you
quickly.
one. I gave you a lot.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's
Good.
perfect.
I dig it.
Well, as we are kind of wrapping up, we love to do a rapid fire round. Are you up for the challenge?
Yeah. I don't know how rapid fire I can be, but let's see. Let's go for it.
Okay. What is one book on this subject or similar that you'd recommend to church leaders?
Unreasonable hospitality.
Okay.
That's a
Um,
I'm
good one.
I
listening to
think,
it now.
yeah, Will is it Gidara is how you say it. Part memoir, part leadership guide, drawn strictly from the restaurant industry, right?
Right.
Right.
Top ranked
Right. Yeah.
industries. But man, like it's all about creating extraordinary experiences and building
Mm.
culture. And that's
Mm.
what we do, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it can really apply to all industries. Go read it.
Love it. Okay. What is the last thing you listened to on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you stream music?
Spotify, Simple Kingdom by Brian and Katie Torwell, and I think
Mm.
Cody Carnes is in there too. It's an
Mm.
amazing song. If you haven't listened.
All right, I got to check that one out.
hmm
Okay. What is your favorite piece of technology or software right now?
Other than my AirPods, I can't go anywhere without my AirPods. I
Mm.
love
Same.
using Notion. Notion keeps me organized. It's taken a little while to get all the templates in my life figured out, but I've finally created a weekly OS that's working for me really well. Um,
Oh.
but it's a process, so I'm sure I'll refine it, right? Because they're not
Yeah. Yeah.
evergreen.
Yeah. 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 Oh,
Yeah,
love it. Okay. I need to look into that. That's not the first time I've heard of that.
yeah. Notion is
Okay.
great.
Quote or advice that stuck with you over the years.
Put it in your computer chip. Um, this is my mom. So she has been telling me this since I was a kid. I have
Mm.
no idea why she decided to say it to me this way, but essentially what she's saying to me is, remember this,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
She must have thought that would have resonated with me when I was a kid, right? Like, I don't know. I got my first Apple computer like when I was small. It's like put it in your
Mm.
computer chip. So even to this day, whenever I experience something, whenever she teaches me something or reminds me of something, remember, put that in your computer chip.
That's such a
Mhm.
Love
good,
that.
emotional
Yeah.
signal for
Mhm.
you that says,
Yeah.
I can't forget this. That is
Yeah.
Yeah.
wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, one thing you'd like to communicate to our audience of church leaders.
Hmm. Um, the backbone of how I lead and how I coach people is lead yourself, lead others, and create healthy culture. It's
Mm.
this idea, this reality, really, that as any kind of leader, right? You have to get intentional and good at leading yourself
Mm.
because if you don't, you will not be able to lead others
Right.
and you will not be able to create a healthy culture. And so, if you wanted to focus on anything this year, lead yourself well so you can lead others well, so you can create a healthy culture where people can thrive.
Mm.
That is the best thing that I can give any piece of advice. And if you want help with that, I can help you.
Mm.
Love
That's
that.
so good.
It's good. Well, I know that this conversation has been so valuable to me. I thank you
Mhm.
so much for
Hmm.
all that you've been able to bring to this today. I know our listeners are so appreciative. I'm just kind of curious, where can people follow you? Where can they hear more? I know that they're going to want to hear more from you.
Yeah. Best place to start would be my website, thecreativelevel.com. All the links to the socials are there. So it's usually just a one stop shop, right? Um, I'm most active on LinkedIn and Instagram, but I'm working towards putting some content out on YouTube. It's going to be one of the goals this year. But while you're on the website, you can check out all the ways that I help teams and leaders and help them find clarity and create thriving communities. I've got assessments and coaching and cohorts and consulting stuff, workshops, everything's there. So thecreativelevel.com.
Amazing. And we'll link up to on your website and all those social channels and everything on our show notes for all of our listeners to make it super easy for them. But
Great.
Nicole, this has been awesome. It's been an incredible conversation. I encourage all of our listeners to go and to check out all of these resources that you've mentioned. And what I would say is for all of our listeners, if this has encouraged you, if it's been a good reminder about why clarity is so important as we're leading in these ministry environments, I would just say, would you consider sharing this with a friend? Share it with somebody that
Mm.
you know that's on your team. Share it with someone that you know that's also serving in ministry. And also leave a review for us. We love reading your reviews and even your comments over on YouTube and on Spotify. They make a big difference to us. Help us encourage as to keep equipping leaders just like you. And so, hey, hit that follow button. We want to make sure that you're staying in the know for all of these resources that we're releasing. But until next time, keep leading well. We'll see you right back here next week on Church Leadership Lab.
This episode of the Church Leadership Lab podcast is brought to you by Ministry Brands, the largest provider of church technology software. Over 90,000 churches rely on Ministry Brands for their single platform solution that brings together all the digital tools a church needs. From online giving to websites to church management software and more, Ministry Brands is leading the way in simple to use, innovative solutions, all with the goal of empowering healthy churches. To learn more, visit ministrybrands.com.